My name is Anna, and I'm 27 years old. For the past 2 years, I've been living with my parents and younger sister, but not by choice. Let me tell you how I ended up here. After graduating from college, I was so excited to start my independent life. I found a small apartment that I could afford on my entry-level salary and moved out of my parents' house. It wasn't anything fancy, just a one-bedroom apartment in an older building, but it was mine. Well, rented, but you know what I mean. I had a dream, to save enough money to buy my own place someday. So I started living frugally. I packed lunches for work, limited eating out to maybe once a month, shopped at thrift stores, and drove my old Honda Civic that I'd had since college. It wasn't glamorous, but I was proud of watching my savings account grow month after month. My sister Lily was the complete opposite of me. 6 years younger, she was only 17 when I moved out, and she was the definite favorite in our family. Mom and Dad gave her everything she wanted: designer clothes, the latest iPhone, expensive makeup. They even let her borrow their newer car whenever she wanted. Every time I visited my parents for Sunday dinner, Lily would make it a point to show off whatever new thing she'd gotten that week. "Anna, look at my new Gucci purse. Isn't it gorgeous?" she'd squeal, knowing full well I couldn't afford anything like that. "Oh, is that the same sweater you were wearing in your Facebook photos from 3 years ago?" I tried to ignore her comments. "It's still in good shape, why would I replace it?" "Because it's so out of style." "God, Anna, you dress like a grandma," Lily would say with a laugh, looking to our parents for approval. Mom and Dad never said anything when she acted like this. They'd just smile indulgently or change the subject. I guess they thought it was just harmless teasing. During those years, I worked hard at my marketing job and kept saving. I picked up skills, earned a promotion, and was really building a life for myself. I had a small circle of close friends, and though we didn't do expensive things, we had fun. Movie nights at home, hikes on weekends, coffee meetups. I was content. Then, shortly after my 25th birthday, everything changed. I showed up for Sunday dinner, and immediately noticed something was wrong. Dad was unusually quiet, and Mom's eyes were red like she'd been crying. Lily was subdued too, scrolling through her phone without showing off anything new. We sat down to eat, and the tension was thick in the air. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. "Anna, we need to talk to you about something important," he said, his voice strained. Mom reached over and squeezed his hand. "Your father lost his job last week. The company is downsizing, and they let go of everyone in his department." I put down my fork. "I'm so sorry, Dad, that's terrible." Mom started twisting her napkin in her hands. "The thing is, Anna, we don't know how we're going to manage financially. Lily's tuition payments for college start next month, and then there's the mortgage, car payments, utilities." Then they all three looked at me, and I knew what was coming before they said it. "Anna," Mom said, tears welling up in her eyes, "we hate to ask this of you, but we're desperate. Would you consider moving back home for a while? Just until your father finds a new job. If you contributed to the household expenses, we could keep paying for Lily's tuition and keep the house." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Move back home, give up my independence? Put my own savings plan on hold? But looking at their desperate faces, I couldn't say no. "How much would you need each month?" I asked, already mentally saying goodbye to my apartment. "About $1,800 would cover Lily's tuition and help with the bills," Mom calculated quickly. That was a huge chunk of my salary. Almost everything I had been putting into savings each month. But they were my family, and they needed me. "Okay," I said finally. "I'll give notice on my apartment this week." Mom burst into tears and hugged me tightly. "You're saving us, Anna. You're truly saving this family." Dad looked relieved and grateful. "It won't be for long, princess. Just until I get back on my feet." Even Lily seemed appreciative. "Thanks, Anna. I didn't know what I was going to do if I couldn't go to college with my friends." 2 weeks later, I moved back into my childhood bedroom, well, what had been my bedroom. After I'd moved out, Lily had converted it into a walk-in closet for her expanding wardrobe. Now her clothes had been hastily moved out, though the closet was still stuffed with her overflow items. The room felt smaller than I remembered, with its pale blue walls and twin bed. I'd had to put most of my furniture in storage. That first night back, lying in my old bed, I tried to comfort myself with the thought that it was just temporary. Dad would find a job soon, and I'd be back on my own in no time. I had no idea then how wrong I was, or how quickly things would change once I was back under my parents' roof. The first few months living back with my parents were actually okay. Mom would make special dinners to thank me, and Dad would pat my shoulder and say, "You're a lifesaver, Anna." I set up automatic transfers to send $1,800 to Mom's account on the first of every month, a painful hit to my bank account, but I reminded myself it was for family. About 3 months in, Dad finally landed a job. We celebrated with champagne that night. "So I guess I can start looking for my own place again?" I asked, hoping to hear a yes. Mom's smile faded. "Well, the thing is, Anna, your father's new salary isn't what we'd hoped for." Dad stared at his plate. "It's barely half what I was making before." "We still need your help," Mom said, reaching for my hand. "Just for a little while longer." I nodded, pushing down my disappointment. Of course, family comes first. But things gradually started to change. The gratitude I'd felt from them in those early days faded. Little comments started popping up. "Anna, do you really need to spend 40 minutes in the bathroom every night?" Mom complained one evening. "It's wasteful, and you're not the only one who lives here." My evening bath was the one luxury I still allowed myself, a chance to decompress after work with some hot water and a book. I scaled back to 20 minutes. Then there were the meals. Mom used to make my favorite lasagna at least once a month. Now it was all Lily's favorites: chicken parmesan, stir-fry, fancy salads with ingredients I didn't even like. Small things kept piling up. Extra grocery runs for Lily's special snacks. Dad asking me to spot him $40 for gas until payday. Mom needing $100 for a hair appointment because her card was acting up. I never got any of that money back. Meanwhile, Lily kept showing up with new things: a pair of expensive shoes, a designer backpack, a smartwatch. "Where are you getting the money for all this?" I finally asked her one day after she flounced in with shopping bags. "Mind your own business," she snapped. "Just because you choose to live like a pauper doesn't mean I have to." I should have pressed harder, but I let it go. Big mistake. One Friday night, I came home exhausted after a long week. My boss had dumped an emergency project on me last minute, and I'd stayed late to finish it. All I wanted was my bath and bed. Instead, I walked in to find Lily waiting for me, practically bouncing with excitement. "There you are, I need $700, she announced without even saying hello. "For a trip with my friends next weekend. We're going to the beach for 3 days. Everyone already paid their share." "And you think I'm just going to give you $700? I asked, incredulous. Her smile dropped. "Why not? It's not like you spend money on anything else." "Because I'm paying $1,800 a month to keep this household running," I snapped. "I don't have spare cash lying around for your beach trips." "God, you're so stingy," she huffed. "It's just money." Something in me broke. Years of frustration came pouring out. "No, it's not just money," I said, my voice rising. "It's my hard-earned money that I work 50 hours a week for. Maybe if you got a job like I did in college instead of leeching off everyone, you'd understand what money actually means." Her eyes went wide. "I have classes. I don't have time for a job." "I work 20 hours a week while taking a full course load," I shot back. "You're just lazy and entitled." Lily's face crumpled, and she started crying, not quiet tears, but loud dramatic sobs that echoed through the house. Within seconds, Mom and Dad appeared in the living room. "What's going on?" Mom demanded, putting her arm around Lily. "Anna called me lazy and entitled," Lily wailed against Mom's shoulder. "She said horrible things to me." Dad turned to me, face darkening. "Is that true?" She demanded $700 from me for a beach trip, I explained, trying to stay calm. I said no, and yes, I told her she should get a job instead of expecting everyone to fund her lifestyle. How dare you speak to your sister that way in our house, Mom snapped. Your house that I'm helping pay for, I pointed out. Mom's face flushed red. There it is. Every time we have a disagreement, you throw your money in our faces. I looked between their angry faces and Lily's smug expression behind her fake tears. They couldn't see what was happening here, or didn't want to. Fine, I said tightly, I'm going to my room. I shut my door and sat on my bed, shaking with anger and hurt. This wasn't what family was supposed to be. This felt like exploitation. That night was the turning point. After that, I started paying more attention to what was really happening in the house. On Fridays, Mom, Dad, and Lily would often go out, claiming they were visiting my aunt or attending a school function. But then I'd find restaurant receipts in the laundry, expensive places I couldn't afford to go to. Lily's closet continued filling with new clothes. She got a MacBook for school, then a fancy camera for her photography class. Meanwhile, I was still driving my 10-year-old car and wearing clothes until they literally fell apart. 6 months passed like this. A year. Then 18 months. Every time I suggested moving out, there was some new financial crisis that required me to stay. Dad's car needed repairs. The roof was leaking. Lily's tuition went up. I was trapped in a situation that seemed to have no end in sight. My dream of owning my own home felt further away than ever. And the worst part? My family didn't even seem grateful anymore. They treated me like an ATM machine that occasionally took up space in their bathroom. Nearly 2 years had passed since I'd moved back in with my parents. My savings account, once growing steadily, had been stagnant for months. Every time I thought about how far I was from my goal of owning a home, I felt sick. The tension in the house was getting worse. I'd started working later just to avoid coming home. Sometimes I'd sit in my car in the parking lot after work, scrolling through apartment listings on my phone, knowing I couldn't afford any of them while still sending $1,800 to my parents each month. Then came the day that changed everything. I came home from work to find my parents and Lily huddled around the kitchen table, looking at something on Mom's laptop. They were talking excitedly, but as soon as I walked in, they went quiet. What's going on? I asked, setting down my purse. My birthday was coming up in a week, and I thought maybe, just maybe, they were planning something nice for me. Dad cleared his throat. If you must know, we're planning a family trip. My heart lifted a little. Oh, that sounds great. For my birthday next week? We could make a weekend of it. There was an awkward silence. Then Lily laughed, that mean little laugh she'd had since childhood when she knew something I didn't. Not with you, she said, just us three. We're going to Cancun in 2 weeks. I stared at them, waiting for someone to say it was a joke. No one did. You're going on vacation to Mexico without me? I tried to process what I was hearing. You have to work, dear, Mom said, as if this explained everything. We didn't think you could get the time off. You never even asked me, I said, my voice rising. And since when can we afford international vacations? I thought money was tight. Lily rolled her eyes. God, Anna, don't be so dramatic. I deserve this trip. I've been working really hard at school. You deserve it? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What about me? I've been working nonstop and giving you guys nearly $2,000 every month for 2 years. Here we go again, Dad muttered, always keeping score. It's not keeping score to point out that I'm paying for everything while you guys are planning beach vacations without me, I shouted. Mom pressed her hand to her chest in that dramatic way she had. Lower your voice in this house, young lady. We're not going to be guilt by you about money constantly. This isn't about guilt. This is about basic fairness. I was shaking with anger now. How can you possibly think this is okay? If you earned more, you could afford vacations too, Dad said coldly. That was it, something inside me snapped. I turned and walked to my room before they could respond, slamming the door behind me. I sat on my bed and cried, not just because of the vacation, but because I finally saw my family clearly. They didn't love me the way I loved them. To them, I was just a resource to be used. For the next week, we barely spoke. They didn't mention the vacation again, and I didn't bring up moving out. My birthday was approaching, and despite everything, a small part of me hoped they might at least acknowledge it. The day arrived, my 27th birthday. No one said anything in the morning before I left for work. No card, no happy birthday, nothing. I wasn't surprised, exactly, but it still hurt. After work, I stopped and bought myself a small cake. Nothing fancy, just a chocolate cake from the grocery store with happy birthday written on it. I figured we could at least sit together and have a slice, even if things were tense. When I walked in the front door, I was surprised to see Mom, Dad, and Lily sitting at the dining table. They were dressed nicely, and there was a large wrapped box on the table tied with a bow. "There she is," Mom said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "The birthday girl." I set the cake down on the table. "I got us something sweet," I said awkwardly. "You shouldn't have bothered," Lily said, eyeing the store-bought cake with disdain. I looked at the wrapped box. "What's that?" Dad pushed it toward me. "Your birthday present, go ahead, open it." For a moment, I felt a flutter of hope. Maybe they did care. Maybe they had saved up to get me something nice for once. I untied the bow and lifted the lid. Inside was a brand new suitcase, sleek, expensive looking, with plenty of compartments. "Wow, this looks really nice," I said, confused. They'd never given me such an expensive gift before. "Are we going somewhere after all?" All three of them started laughing. It wasn't warm laughter. "You sure are," Dad said. Mom leaned forward. "We want you to pack your things in this suitcase and get out of our house. Tomorrow morning." I thought I'd misheard. "What?" "We're kicking you out," Lily said gleefully. "I'm going to turn your room back into my closet again." "I don't understand," I stammered. "Why now?" "Because we're sick of your attitude," Dad said. "Sick of you throwing it in our faces that you help us out financially." "But Mom cut me off with a wave of her hand. "We don't need your money anymore anyway. Your father got promoted 6 months ago. He's been earning good money for a while now, but we didn't tell you." "So you've been lying to me?" I felt like I couldn't breathe. "Taking my money when you didn't need it?" Dad shrugged. "Consider it payback for all the years we raised you." I looked at each of their faces, smug, unapologetic, cruel. These people were strangers to me. Without a word, I stood up and went to my room. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt a strange sense of clarity. This birthday had indeed become a gift. It had shown me exactly who my family was, and that I needed to get away from them for good. I didn't join them for cake. I heard them laughing downstairs, probably eating my birthday cake without me. I lay on my bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about what to do next. The next morning, I packed everything I owned into the new suitcase and a few boxes. It didn't take long. I hadn't accumulated much in the 2 years I'd been back. My parents and Lily were still asleep when I called an Uber to take me and my stuff to the nearest hostel. The hostel was basic, a small room with 4 bunk beds, shared bathrooms, and a communal kitchen. But as I sat on my assigned bottom bunk, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: freedom. That first week was a blur. I found a small studio apartment that I could afford, signed the lease, and paid the security deposit. It was even smaller than the place I'd rented after college, with barely room for a bed and a tiny kitchenette, but it was mine. No one could kick me out on a whim. Setting up the apartment was simple since I had so little. A bed, a desk, a small table with 2 chairs. I bought everything secondhand. With each item I placed in my new space, I felt more like myself again. The first month passed without a word from my family. I'd blocked their numbers on my phone, but I still checked my email regularly for work. I threw myself into my job, volunteering for extra projects and staying late whenever possible. My boss noticed and hinted at a possible promotion in the coming months. Slowly, I started rebuilding my savings. Without the $1,800 drain each month, I was amazed at how quickly the numbers in my account grew. I still lived frugally, some habits die hard, but now it was my choice. I treated myself to a nice dinner out to celebrate my first month of independence. 4 more months passed. I got that promotion at work, along with a decent salary bump. I started to research first-time homebuyer programs, thinking that maybe my dream wasn't so far out of reach after all. Then, exactly 6 months after my birthday eviction, my phone rang with an unknown number. Something told me to answer it. "Hello? Anna, it's Mom." My stomach dropped. Her voice was sickeningly sweet, the tone she used when she wanted something. "What do you want?" I asked flatly. "Don't be like that, sweetie, I'm calling because we need to talk. Can you come over to the house? It's important." "No," I said firmly, "whatever you have to say, you can say it now." There was a pause, and I could almost hear her calculating her next move. "Fine," she sighed dramatically. "Your father lost his job again. They had another round of layoffs, and this time he was included." "That's unfortunate," I said, not letting any emotion creep into my voice. "He's been looking, of course, but the job market is terrible right now," she continued. "We have bills piling up, and we've fallen behind on payments. The bank is threatening foreclosure." I stayed silent, waiting for the inevitable ask. "We need your help, Anna," she finally said. "We want you to move back in and help us with the bills again, like before." I laughed, I couldn't help it, the audacity was breathtaking. "You're joking, right? After you kicked me out on my birthday? After you lied to me for months and took my money when you didn't need it?" "We made a mistake," Mom said quickly. "We were stressed about other things. You know your father's temper. We all say things we don't mean sometimes." "No," I said, "I'm not moving back. Not now, not ever." "But we're your family," she protested, "we need you. You should have thought about that before you treated me like garbage for 2 years, goodbye, Mom." I hung up before she could respond. Within minutes, my phone was blowing up with calls from my parents and Lily. I blocked the new numbers and went back to making dinner. Over the next few days, they tried everything. Emails begging for help. Texts from numbers I hadn't blocked yet. Even a handwritten letter pushed under my apartment door, which was especially creepy because I hadn't given them my address. I ignored it all, I'd given them enough of my life already. Then, 2 weeks after the first call, I received an email from someone claiming to be their lawyer. The message was formal and threatening, stating that my parents were demanding I pay them $24,000 for room and board for the 2 years I lived with them rent-free, calculated at $1,000 per month. I almost deleted it as a scare tactic, but something about the letterhead and signature looked legitimate. A quick Google search confirmed the lawyer was real. Panicking slightly, I reached out to James, a college friend who had become a lawyer. We grabbed coffee that weekend, and I showed him the email. "They're bluffing," he said after reading it. "This is harassment, not a legitimate legal claim." "Can you help me respond?" I asked. "Better than that," he grinned. "I'll respond for you officially, no charge." James drafted a response that same day. The letter was perfect, professional but devastating. It acknowledged their claim and then systematically destroyed it by pointing out that I had been sending my mother $1,800 every month for 2 years, totaling $43,200. "If your clients wish to pursue this matter in court," the letter concluded, "my client is prepared to file a counterclaim for the full amount of $43,200, plus legal fees and emotional damages. We have bank records documenting all transfers." James sent the email from his firm's address that evening. 3 days later, the lawyer replied with a short message stating that his clients had decided not to pursue the matter further. Just like that, it was over. The call stopped, the text stopped, the email stopped. Through mutual relatives, I heard that things weren't going well for them. Dad still couldn't find a job. They'd had to sell one of their cars to cover Lily's final year of college tuition. Creditors were calling constantly, and they were at risk of losing the house. A year ago, this news would have devastated me. I would have rushed to help, regardless of how they'd treated me. But now? I felt nothing but a distant pity, the kind you might feel for strangers in a news story. They'd made their choices. They'd treated me like an ATM, not a daughter. They'd taken advantage of my love and generosity, then discarded me when they thought they didn't need me anymore. Today marks 1 year since I moved into my own place. I just put a deposit down on a small townhouse through a first-time homebuyer program, not my dream home yet, but a stepping stone. My savings account is healthier than it's ever been. I got another promotion at work and even started dating someone who respects me and my goals. Sometimes, in quiet moments, I still feel a pang of sadness for what I lost, not the money, but the illusion of family. I thought I knew who they were. I thought they loved me the way I loved them. But I've gained something more valuable than money or even family, self-respect. I know my worth now, and I won't let anyone, family or not, make me forget it again. As for my parents and Lily, I hear they're still struggling. But their problems aren't mine anymore. For the first time in my adult life, I'm truly free. And no amount of money in the world could make me give that up.